What's up, guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. Starting off over here at the Lake Mead water database, yet another new all-time record low, 1,042.05. And I want to talk about some new numbers that I've computed here just in the last 24 hours. I've been looking around up in the mountain areas, been looking at the reservoirs that Lake Mead depends on, and we're kind of missing the elephant in the room here. It's showing that it's down 25.95 feet from a year ago. Well, actually, it's much quicker than that, and we're going to come back and take a look at those numbers here in just a moment. Starting off here at the website, looking at the Earth-facing side of the sun, the active regions and sunspots are growing. In fact, they've grown exponentially since yesterday. We're seeing an increase in solar activity, Earth-directed solar activity. Look for some possible large Earth-directed solar flares here in the next 24 hours. Looking at the Sahara sand situation, the 1,400-mile very thick plume has made its way into the southern Caribbean. The Greater Antilles, this chain of islands down here in the South Caribbean right now, is engulfed with Sahara sand and will be like that for the better part of the next 2 days. Hopping over to the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, looking at the seismographs that monitor the mighty supervolcano. A little bit of earthquake activity at Parker Peak and at Little West Thumb, albeit small earthquake activity, but nevertheless, that's earthquake activity at a supervolcano. So something we always watch on a daily basis, like we've been watching this mega drought. They're calling this a 1,200-year drought that we're seeing out here in the southwestern United States. Basically, the majority of the country west of the Mississippi. You can see the bright reds on here are extreme drought conditions in Nevada, southern Nevada especially, Utah, parts of Arizona, a large portion of Texas, and New Mexico are under extreme drought conditions right now as I do this video. In fact, some places are experiencing what they're calling exceptional drought. And that's probably where they're coming up with the 1,200-year drought. That goes back to 822 AD. That was back when algebra was first invented. Believe it or not, algebra was invented 1,200 years ago. It's since grown into calculus and trigonometry and things like that. But algebra itself was actually conceived in 822 AD. I learned that when I was looking for history of 822 AD regarding droughts and things like that. And it's hard to find anything necessarily weather-related, so I'm not exactly sure where the 1,200 year comes in specifically, but I do know the drought situation out here is definitely not good. And I've been looking around up here in the mountains, especially where the Colorado River originates at the headwater up in the Rocky Mountains up in here. And I've found some reservoirs that are a chain of reservoirs that all lead down to Lake Mead, and Lake Mead's success depends on these reservoirs. And this is one of them you're looking at right now that's up in the Rocky Mountains. This is Windy Gap Reservoir, and the Colorado River runs right through here. And you can see a bathtub ring over here on the base of this building. Look at that, how low that water is. That's probably down for this reservoir, I don't know, 6-7 feet, just taking a guess. But you can see the ground in here. It is very low on water, and I'll show you where we're at here. This is a reservoir in the middle of the Colorado River. This is up about 7,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains, and right here's the little reservoir. It's called Windy Gap Reservoir right there, and here's the Colorado River. Runs right through there, and you can see for yourself it's almost completely dry. And then the Colorado River comes out over here on the west side, comes down through Hot Sulphur Springs, then it just runs down to the next largest reservoir, which is the second largest reservoir in the United States, which is Lake Powell. Lake Powell itself is very, very low, and Lake Mead's success is entirely dependent upon Lake Powell. Lake Powell feeds Lake Mead. So when Lake Mead opens up the gates and lets out a lot of water, it's basically the water that's in between Lake Mead and Lake Powell. Lake Powell can only release so much water per day because the reservoirs up north of them are very low as well. Lake Powell's success depends on how well Lake Granby does. And Lake Granby is right up here, and it's where the Colorado River starts. In fact, the Colorado River starts starts over here. The headwater starts up here in the mountains, comes down into what's called Shadow Mountain Lake. It starts right here. In fact, if you want to know where it officially starts, it's right here. It goes into Shadow Mountain Lake, and then that runs over into Lake Granby. Lake Granby is also very low, much like that of Lake Powell and Lake Mead. And we're going to take a look at an area up here in the Lake Granby area. In fact, we'll go right over here. You can see some boats and some boat docks, and we'll see what it looks like at Lake Granby, kind of where it all starts. And you can see it's pretty low. Not quite as low as Lake Mead and Lake Powell, but nevertheless, this water should be way up in here, and it's considerably low. Not as low as Lake Mead. And again, Lake Mead's success depends on how well these do up here, because Lake Mead is basically the last in line. It's down here at the bottom of the river, and the river starts up here in the Rocky Mountains. I've received photos from Sherry out of Estes Park, Colorado, and this was what the snowpack looked like on May 30th of 2022. Estes Park is right up here in the area where the Colorado River starts. It's right up here in the Rocky Mountains. In fact, I'll take you guys to Estes Park right now. Here we go. And it's just over on the eastern side of the Rockies. Here's Estes Park, and over here is Lake Granby. As the crow flies, right there. There's how far apart they are. And the snowpack is right up here. And the snowpack melts and runs down through the valleys into the various reservoirs and lakes up in the Rocky Mountains. And that's where the water comes from for Lake Mead, Lake Powell. They originate right up in here. But as you can see, the reservoirs up here in the mountains, for the most part, they are struggling as well. So don't look for Lake Mead to improve until these up here improve. It just simply can't. It's not physically possible because the water is not there right now. So we're just going to have to get used to living with less water out here. And we're in a severe drought, in some cases an extraordinary drought, according to this map, and it's not improving. And the water situation, at least with regard to the Colorado River, can only do so much. And I mentioned earlier the elephant in the room here, and it's showing that the water level has dropped nearly 26 feet for the year. Well, that 26 feet has really occurred since the end of February. So March, April, May, June, in about 4.5 months, that 25 feet has disappeared. Not a whole year. You can see the water maintained the same basic height for the better part of the year, and then in the last 4.5 months, that 25 feet has disappeared. So basically, instead of 25.95 feet disappearing over the course of 12 months, it's disappeared in the course of 4.5 months. That's how quick it's gone. So the numbers have changed with regard to how much longer, at least at this pace that it's going, the water is going to last at Lake Mead, and then Lake Powell, and of course Lake Granby as well, because you saw yourself, according to the maps here at Google Earth, and these photos are from 2022. I don't know exactly when in 2022, but the photos you saw of these areas are fairly recent. And based off of the numbers that we're working with right here, according to the Lake Mead water database, the water is not going to last 2.74 years like we had originally calculated. I'm going to come out with the new calculations in my next video, but it is considerably shorter than 2.74 years. So look for that new data coming up in one of my next videos here in the next day or two. And coming back to the homepage of the website, you can see this ominous green sky from July 5th above Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's unedited. That's exactly the way the highway cam saw the sky as thunderstorms were moving through the northern plains back on July 5th. If you guys have any photos you'd like to share, you can send those to reports@MrMBB333.com. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.